How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we're back with another FPL video. And today we're going to be taking a look at my lineup preview for Game Week 7. We're going to see what transfers I'm looking to make, and maybe a little preview of potentially what we're looking on the wild card as well. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, from transfer news to injury news and anything in between, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams. And we will be up 1 hour before the FPL deadline live over on Twitch. There'll be a pinned comment down below to give you the details on that one as well. So without further ado, let's talk about our partners for this FPL season with Fantasy Football Scout. So if you haven't heard about Fantasy Football Scout, they have a fantastic members area during the regular season. It's £25 for the membership, and that lasts the entire year. And during the off season, they give a 20% discount. But if you have missed that discount, fear not, you can still get the membership for £25, and it's fantastic. You can see the membership area just behind me. You have a bunch of different stats that you can use, powered by Opta stats, and create your own custom tables. You have the Rate My Team tool, you have the season ticker, player comparison tools, a whole array of things that you can use to help elevate your FPL game. So use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to these exclusive tools to help elevate your FPL game. Sign up now. So this is how the team shaped up after Game Week 6. It was looking like a pretty bad week, and then all of a sudden, out of the ashes, Sar and Veltman managed to save my Game Week so that it wasn't an absolutely horrendous red arrow. We started off the Game Week at around 30k, or just outside the top 30k, and then we were looking at like potentially 200k, and then we got a few extra points in there, and we're able to get back closer to what we had before, just around 56k. So not the end of the world. If I can be still around this point come Game Week 8 when I go to wildcard, I would definitely take that as well. But let's run through the team. Defensively, not great. Ayling is injured and looks like he needs surgery. Shaw went off after getting a yellow card quite early. Trent with just the 1 point after conceding 3 to the likes of Brentford, and he could be out. We'll talk a little bit more on that later as well. Sanchez got himself booked for after the game, kind of like, I think he was like kind of, you know, jeering at the fans or whatever, the Crystal Palace fans. But he managed to somehow get a bonus point after only making 2 saves, which is interesting. Veltman with one of the most fortunate assists and 2 bonus points to add on top of that I will ever take. Daniel Mope's late stoppage time winner, so we're definitely going to take that. Fornals, Benrahma, and Antonio, I mean, they could have came away with a lot more points. Benrahma and Antonio specifically. Fornals got himself booked as well, so just the 1 point for him. Benrahma picked up a bonus point, which showed how well he was playing passing wise and creating chances. Antonio getting himself a late goal for the captainers out there were heavily rewarded. Sar got himself 9 points as well, another goal, so that's 3 goals in 2 for him, 3 goals in 3 since we've had him in our lineup, and Salah scoring like Salah does normally. Ronaldo, again, no real clear-cut chance for him. If he would have gotten one, maybe he would have scored, but I think that's our first 2-point captain blank for the season. We captained Salah when he got 3 points once the season as well, so not ideal, but we have been okay on the captaincy thus far. And Danny Ings, just the 2 points, didn't expect much either, although didn't expect United to lose 1-0 to Villa either. And then, like I said, a bunch of donuts on the bench, and we do have some serious problems at the back at the moment. So without further ado, let's see how our defense kind of barely walks into the lineup in Game Week 7. So our current squad value is 99.1 million and 2.2 million in the bank. So we can make a nice sizable transfer for the likes of a Chelsea defender or a City defender or an additional Liverpool defender, whatever we want to do. If we wanted to swap Trent out for Van Dijk, if we wanted to get Robertson, if we wanted to get Diaz, Cancelo, Antonio Rudiger, Azpilicueta, Alonso, doesn't matter. We have our pick of the bunch, and we can do that basically from any defender we want to transfer out. If we wanted to get a Liverpool defender, however, we would either have to get rid of Tsimikas or Trent to do so. Now, we just have the one free transfer, so I'm kind of debating and hoping that Shaw starts versus Everton, which in my eyes looks to be a good fixture. Everton haven't been that great defensively in my eyes, so that means Shaw could potentially get some attacking returns, although he didn't look great before he came off in the 20 to 30 minutes that he did play versus Aston Villa. But he did travel with the team to the hotel, and he is among the players that could play in the game. I just feel like Luke Shaw is like Harry Maguire, is like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, in that if they're in kind of like the squad that traveled to the hotel and they trained the day before, they're probably going to start. So I have a sneaking suspicion that Shaw is going to start, and that's kind of what I'm banking on, because I don't want to have to take a hit if I don't want to, especially before a Game Week 8 wildcard, which we definitely have booked in over the international break for us. Tsimikas, even if he was available, I don't think I'd want to play him versus Man City, because Man City could score at any moment. Although Liverpool and Man City or the big teams clashing often ends in kind of a dull game and an 0-0 sometimes. But you never know. Don't want to take that chance. And then Ayling and Trent are both red flag. They will not be participating in Game Week 7, which leaves it with just Veltman as our fit defender. And that's a double up versus Arsenal, who've been looking quite good and won 3 on the spin and came off mainly a first half performance against Tottenham where they just absolutely walloped them. So not too confident about that. If Shaw does start, though, I'm looking okay, because I can take out Ayling, I can put Trent on the bench, because if Trent doesn't go down in price, I still want to keep the 0.1 million value that I have on him. It looks like he might go down in price, but you never know. We can always get rid of Ayling because he could go down in price, which we don't want, because then we'll be losing 0.1 on him. Whereas Trent, if he goes down once, it's not the end of the world, because we bought him at 7.5 and he's currently 7.6 million. So basically, I would be getting rid of Ayling, and I would be bringing in most likely a Chelsea defender. And we'll look at the transfer page when I get to that section and kind of debate over those ones as well. But definitely a defensive transfer this week. I cannot go this week without it. Maybe even potentially a double up and go for a -4 if we're really not too sure. But that could be tomorrow's transfer, because I'm definitely making one tonight almost certainly. And we'll mention who that could potentially be before this video is over. But let's take a look at how our midfield is shaping up going into Game Week 7. Now, our midfield looks quite strong, actually, this week. We got Fornals and Ben Rama and Sar, a bunch of cheaper midfielders. Ben Rama, who we have a lot of value tied up in and could provide good sell value when we go to potentially get rid of him on the wild card. But I'm expecting a lot from West Ham this week. I think that Brentford are there to be, potentially gotten at. Liverpool showed that with a decent attack, you can definitely hurt them and be able to score a lot of goals. And Liverpool could have scored 5 or 6 if they really wanted to. Brentford also could have probably scored maybe 1 or 2 more as well, because they had equally as good chances. But I remember just Diego Jota missing after scoring his header, and then he missed another open chance. It is just a bit worrying for Brentford defensively, but it makes my West Ham assets looking quite good. I think Fornal is playing not very many minutes, bowls well for him starting. Ben Rama, I think, has been just another level this season. He is so important to West Ham's team, whether he plays in the number 10 role or out on the left. He is absolutely superb, can skip past a player, has a great delivery, can find an eye for goal, makes late runs into the box. He's been fantastic. As well as Ismail Assar, he's been a little bit fortunate in some of the positions that he's been able to get himself in to score, but you have to get in those positions in order to score. So I think he's been a great and successful transfer for a budget midfielder. This is probably the last fixture that we're going to hang on to him for, because he has Liverpool afterwards and a not great run of fixtures. It was these 4 when he plays the likes of Wolves and Newcastle and that sort of stuff, and leads all much poorer defenses or teams that you would think that Watford could do well. So I'm hoping that he gets a favorable return for me before we sell him on the wild card. And then lastly, Mo Salah. if you don't have Mo Salah in your team, I think you should definitely have him in your team. He is good enough to score versus City. He's good enough to score versus anyone. And after the 2 goals that he put past Porto in the Champions League for their 5-1 win, I just think that Salah is going to be one of our premiums for every game week for the entire season. Basically, if Salah has a good fixture, he can score in it, and he's been doing the most damage. It seems like when he gets in front of goal and has a halfway decent chance, if he's not offside, he scores, whereas Mane and Jota have shown to be a bit more wasteful on that front. So Salah definitely not going anywhere, and I can see him even causing Man City all sorts of problems. But now let's take a look at the forward line to round out the team preview for Game Week 7. And this is how our team looks in full, with the forwards in there as well. Not really too much to say, to be honest. Danny Ings, I mean, Spurs' defense hasn't looked great, so hopefully we can get a goal from him, maybe an assist. I mean, the front duo of Watkins and Ings have shown, defenses that play back fours a real problem. They even tested Chelsea's back 3 system as well. But I think Ings and Watkins with their press, McGinnon, Douglas Luiz in midfield could cause Spurs, who are on a downward spiral at the moment, all sorts of problems. So it'll be real interesting to see that game. I believe they play on Sunday, which would be quite interesting to see how that one pans out. Mikel Antonio, I mean, he's just absolute monster. Scored again in the Europa League, and he is part of our trio for West Ham. Now, normally I would potentially consider him for captaincy. I somewhat considered it last week as well. This week, I don't think I should captain him over the likes of Ronaldo, just more specifically because I have 3 West Ham, and it'd be putting a lot of eggs into one basket, the most that you could possibly do without using a chip, basically. So I think that he is just going to be good enough. And Fornals and Benrahma look the most likely to be helping him out there. Bowen, I hope they play Vlasic, because I think Vlasic is a very good facilitator when he plays in the number 10 role or on the right-hand side. And that would allow Benrahma to play the number 10 with Fornals on the left, which would have that like kind of trio with Fornals, with Antonio and Benrahma kind of linking up together. And Vlasic kind of doing a lot of the scruff work, as it were. Because Bowen's spooned a chance in Europa League as well before Benrahma put the game to bed and made it 2-0. But I'm expecting a lot from the West Ham boys this week. No offense to Brentford fans, but I definitely want West Ham to absolutely slam you. And hopefully Fornals, Benrahma, and Antonio are part of that. And then Cristiano Ronaldo, the captain of this week. I don't think there's any real debate on that, mainly due to the fact that I have 3 West Ham players. I think he's just kind of the default. There is a slight consideration for the likes of Ismail Assar. There is also a slight consideration for Salah, but given the opposition that Salah has to play, I think Ronaldo is probably the best option. And Sarr is just kind of a budget asset that, he's got 3 in the last 2. Maybe he's just a little bit of a purple patch. And Ronaldo is going to be hungry to score at Old Trafford, back in the Premier League, having not scored last week, and watching Bruno send his penalty into orbit somewhere. So Ronaldo for the captaincy for me this week. I think if you either have Ronaldo or Lukaku, I think it's either or personally this week. Me personally, if I had both, I would still go Ronaldo, just because I think that Everton's defense looks to be slightly leakier, at least from the eye test, from what I can tell, over the likes of Southampton. But that's the lineup as it stands as of now. But let's go over to the transfer page and see how we can fix this defensive mess going into Game Week 7. Now this is the transfer screen for our team as it stands now. 1 free transfer, 2.2 million in the bank, and we have some defensive woes. Flags everywhere. If we had a little bit more, we'd be that what's that entertainment park? 6 flags. Yeah, we'd have a lot of those. We just need 3 more. But yeah, so it's looking like we have some decisions to make. Personally, I think if we can hang on to Luke Shaw, and he is going to play, I think Everton is a good fixture. After that, though, I would say definitely get rid of him, just because his form this season, he's got an assist, just the 1 clean sheet in the first 6 game weeks. He went off injured and got himself booked in a couple of games this season as well. So not great from the 5.5 or originally 5.5 million left back for Manchester United. Trent, we're going to keep because, like I said, if he does stay in price, at 7.6 million over the international break and managers are patient, then we can still keep that value. So I'm going to hang on to him as long as he's not going to be likely to go down, where someone like Ayling, as an example, could also go down. And the defenders that we're kind of looking at is mainly just kind of the Chelsea crew. So we'll kind of go over the advantages and disadvantages. So the three main defenders here is, number one, a lot of managers are going for Marcos Alonso, and for good reason. He started every game this season. He's gotten some massive holes, 15 points in game week 1, 10 in game week 5. And Chelsea have kept a few clean sheets. It's just the potential risk of rotation. Now, if he's going to start, if you told me right now Alonso starts 4 out of 5 of these next games, no problem, I would say he's in my team right away. But I can't guarantee that, because in Turin, in the Champions League, he was subbed at halftime after being booked and not playing particularly well. So he would be a rotation risk. And as it stands now, I don't have the bench to basically kind of safeguard the fact that Alonso could be a rotation risk. So we have to go for a slightly more safer pick. And between those picks, you have Christensen, who I think isn't as, safe of a pick. So that kind of only leaves two real kind of mainstays in the team. One of which is Azpilicueta, who seems to start most games. He was also hooked early as well, but he can also be in a position where he might not necessarily play. Now, he is the club captain and will have the armband whenever he plays, but Thiago Silva could also have the armband, or whoever else, like likes of Jorginho or N'Golo Kante could have the armband as well. So that doesn't necessarily bode well for his case in that sense. Also, him getting taken off, he has potential replacements in his position. So right-sided centre-back, if Reece James was fit, he could play there. Chalobah can play there. Christensen can play there as well. And then if he was playing right wing back, you also have Hudson-Odoi, who is fit and looked great when he came on versus Juventus in midweek. He might not necessarily play and could get rotated in this game week. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be like scaremonger or anything like that. I'm just saying that there are options in his position that he could potentially be rotated, much like Christensen, who typically plays either right center back or the central center back. Whereas Antonio Rudiger, as an example, he's played every game. He's played arguably the most, if not tied for the most with Azpilicueta under Thomas Tuchel. And he plays the left-sided centre-back role, which, although Thomas Tuchel said that Christensen can play either right or left-sided centre-back, nobody seems to play it as well as Antonio Rudiger. He makes those driving runs. He helps out and covers for whoever the left-back is, whether it be Alonso. Typically, when they have that double pivot in there, if it's Kante and Jorginho plays on that side as well, very controlling, so they kind of have a good understanding there as well. And I think Antonio Rudiger is kind of the safest one, and also he happens to be the cheapest one outside of Andreas Christensen, so I can see myself bringing in Antonio Rudiger for the likes of Luke Ayling. Now the next question would be, do I take a hit to go for a second defender to kind of make sure that I have at least some kind of cover defensively on the bench if Shaw doesn't play? Because if Shaw doesn't play, I'm still out of defender in this situation, because I have the likes of Tsimikas, who's not going to play, and then I'll just have Veltman. So is it worth potentially taking the -4 and getting rid of, we'll just get rid of Tsimikas or Trent or whoever. Let's say Trent goes down tonight in price for whatever reason. We know he's not going to play, and Tsimikas could potentially play, so we would still potentially keep him. We could go for another Chelsea defender, so we could bring in that Alonso, but again, that's still a risk because he might not necessarily start. Again, Rudiger might not start either, but I think he's the most likely to do so. We could bring in a Ruben Dias, but unfortunately he has a bad fixture versus Liverpool, and that would go the same for Cancelo. My thinking also potentially could be the likes of a Burnley defender, and the reason being is just because it's a one-off punt. We're wildcarding next week, so we can go for something a bit more exciting. If we wanted to keep, get rid of Trent, to have Tsimikas on the bench and then ensure that we at least have 5 playing defenders, Ben-Mee or Tarkowski for a 1-week punt could be quite good. Burnley haven't kept much clean sheets. Ben-Mee has scored a goal this season, but they do play Norwich and it is at home, and it seems like a fantastic fixture to have them for. and Burnley have a good run. It's just whether they keep that clean sheet is kind of what I'm looking for. That clean sheet is crucial. That clean sheet is going to be the one that I would need in order to make up that potential -4. Because if they don't keep a clean sheet, I'm basically taking a -4 to only bring in 2 points, which ends up being a -2. So the defender needs to get at least 4 points in order to just break even for the 1 week punt to happen. And I think that Tarkowski or Ben Mee would be the one to kind of go for, as they are both great from set pieces, which Norwich aren't. Krul doesn't seem to be very commanding of his box. And the likes of Pukki is the only one to score, and I don't think he's going to be as aerially dominant as the likes of Mee and Tarkowski up against him. He's only scored, like I said, the 2 goals, one of which I believe was from the penalty spot as well, and then the other one was from a mistake. And those are the only 2 goals that Norwich have scored this season. So the clean sheet is definitely likely. This transfer could come down to kind of a deadline kind of stream decision, but it would be the likes of, I think, Tarkowski or Mee that would come in. And then I would play Tarkowski, Rudiger, and Luke Shaw, and then I would have Veltman on the bench for a -4, because I think just the Chelsea double up, I'm probably going to get it anyway, but I don't feel safe, at least this week, knowing who is going to come in, because there could be rotation. There could be, hey, look, we didn't look fresh versus Juventus. I'm going to play Chalobah. I'm going to play Callum Hudson-Odoi. I'm going to play this player. I'm going to play that player. And then, off on the international break where some players will play and some won't. So I'm not too sure what Thomas Tuchel is going to do. I have full confidence that Rudiger will play. The other defenders, not too sure about, which is why if I was going to go for a second defender, just to be sure, I would go for Tarkowski. Although I am technically backing Sanchez to hopefully keep a clean sheet versus Arsenal as well. So maybe that's kind of counterintuitive if I think that Veltman is going to be involved and keeping a clean sheet, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. That one is probably a bit more iffy. I don't want to have to take a hit if I don't have to. If Shaw is starting, I'll probably be less inclined to do so. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is Antonio Rudiger the right transfer for me? I'm probably going to make it once I've finished doing this video, definitely before the price changes, and it will be for Luke Ayling. But should I take the hit? Does it seem like a good idea? And which defender would you say that I should bring in to get that defensive cover if I was going to take a hit for Game Week 7? And that is going to do it for our Game Week 7 lineup preview, the last lineup preview before the international break. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe channel if you're new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, whether it be early team news or injury news and anything in between, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams. We will be having a deadline stream tomorrow at 5 a.m. EDT. That's 1 hour before the FPL deadline, to make sure to join us for that. And lastly, use the link down in the description below so that you can get your Fantasy Football Scout membership. They have Opta powered stats tables which you can customize to your FPL needs, as well as a whole lot more. It's going to help elevate your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.